Well, hello, everyone. Joanne Williams here with Anxiety Simplified. And I do have a special guest today, Eva Vennari. And she has her own podcast, which you can listen to as well when doctors say we don't know. Hmm. All right. Well, I think we've all heard that before. So, we're going to have a talk around health and anxiety and what you can do and some alternative ways. Eva is actually a nutritional counselor, a holistic health practitioner. And so she describes herself as formerly sick corporate ladder climber turned holistic practitioner. And she works virtually with high performers. I guess they want high performance too, but as their secret weapon to stay in the game without burnout. I think we all really need that. And this is science based, no trends, no fads, and no drugs ever. So, some of the things about health that we're going to talk about, I'm going to do a little summary here, but we really want to think about maybe what we've been thinking about healthy may not be as we understand it. So, a summary of today is going to be let's talk about a little bit about self medicating versus I just want relief. Or what are some hidden physical aspects of anxiety experience that maybe we don't think about? And what are some strategies, I love solutions, that we can look at to really help when we are experiencing anxiety? And what is more important now more than ever to pay attention to in your body's needs? We're dealing with a pandemic. We're dealing with a virus that is rampant right now in the US. And we really need to get some skills and things that we can do to help ourselves now. So, one of the questions is going to be can anxiety be cured? Which we'll address and answer as we go. So, I want to welcome Eva, Eva, and I want you to tell us about yourself and how you got into this field. If you were in the corporate world, because I heard you kind of had some burnout and health issues that I know many of our listeners probably can identify with. So please tell us a little bit about your story and introduce yourself. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And this is one of my favorite subjects.
Is it?
Personal experience. The years of not understanding what was going on in my body and receiving the answers from the doctors we don't know. Turning their back physically on me in the doctor's office, seeing the back of their coat as they mutter, I think it's all in your head. You should seek psychotherapy. So that was my experience in a nutshell, really a very, very minute level, but it progressed and became ignored by the medical practitioners over the years, whether it was an MD or even a specialist of sorts, whatever they were. It started with depression and anxiety as a teen, undiagnosed, untreated, unseen by parents, and unhelped. So by the time I was 20, my nervous system and my body were so depleted because I didn't know how to take care of it. I ended up being finally diagnosed with something called autoimmune disorder. And they blamed it on having the Epstein-Barr virus, and they blamed it on, well, you've been exposed to these other things in your life, and oh, your cycle's always been off. Oh, that's normal for your age. It's normal for a stage. It's normal. And I'm like, at some point, at some point, there has to be something else to blame it on, and there has to be something going on. And so I just had that internal thought, and I held on to it for the next 16 years after
Oh
that,
boy.
while I went through infertility, perimenopause, ended up with arthritis, osteoarthritis. I was told I would be in a wheelchair by the age of 35.
Mm.
Um, I had, in addition to, finally, it took me until the age of 32 to be diagnosed officially with chronic fatigue, insomnia, officially depression. And I'm like, okay, so what's the underlying cause? What is underneath all of this? And I was the only one asking that question. And I'm so thankful that I did, because I
Yeah.
was blessed with insomnia at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I decided to put in a search string on Google, which wasn't as helpful back then as it is now, of all of my 30 different symptoms and diagnoses. And I mean, I rattled off a few. There are many more. IBS, itchy skin. The doctors kept saying, "Well, you don't know why your skin is itchy all the time." Every family photo, I'm doing this. I'm scratching my arms, and you could see it. And there would be scars all over me, and I didn't understand why. Lumps in my body. As a woman, as I grew older, I would ask the different specialists in my uterus, my ovaries, and breasts, "Why am I getting lumpy?" We don't know. We don't know. And I just kept thinking, if I give my body what it needs, it'll heal itself. It should,
Where did
right?
that come from?
Don't know.
That
Still
thought.
don't know to this day. Have no idea. Just it was very in touch intuitively. I don't know if it came from, a woo side of this, might be some spirit, it came
Yep.
in trying to
Yep.
help me and guide me. My own exposure to things like feng shui, which is more of the Eastern philosophy. And you let things flow rather than hammer them into place, that kind of thought. I don't know. It could have come from a lot of different places, but
Absolutely.
somehow it just was there. So
I think you
um,
allowed it. You were
maybe.
looking and you allowed it in line. Absolutely. Good for you.
Yeah, so it was just something I stuck to. And due to that 30 some odd different symptoms and diagnoses search string, I came across this very obscure article that to anyone else would be a dry, boring, long article describing. But when you hear your own story, it's very enthralling. And I kept reading more about what it would be like to live in a body and have the experiences that were, and they would, march them out and say, if you would have something that feels like ants marching on your skin,
Mm.
itchy skin, right? If you have copper toxicity, if you have imbalances, if you've always been irregular with your cycle, if you have arthritis, then you probably have a calcium imbalance. And it's not, anyways, it just got into all of these details, and I was just voraciously reading this. So I learned more about what's called nutritional balancing science. That was at the bottom of the article. And it said, if you give your body what it needs, it can heal itself. That was the philosophy behind this science, hence my title, nutritional counselor. It's about balancing. So I decided I'm going to try this. And after about 30 to 60 days, somewhere in there, I'd reached some thresholds of what felt more than just 50% better in some areas, but permanent over the hump solutions that weren't
Wow.
coming back. It was sustainable. They were,
Wow.
yeah, immediately the migraine headaches I was having daily were going away.
Oh, no. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it does. It was a miserable experience all the while,
yeah.
like you said, climbing the corporate ladder, working in construction. I did that for 16
Construction.
years, architectural and design industry, and raising two kids on my own as a single parent.
Oh,
So
my.
there was a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety around how am I going to do all of this?
Yeah.
And it came to a head. I'm like, if I don't do this, if I don't figure it out, I'm going to end up on Social Security disability, on medications that won't ever make me better, but simply crutch me up long enough to stay alive, kind of. And I thought, how is that a life? So that's the beginning.
And can I just make a comment on all of that? I know there are listeners. My story isn't that much different either, I've got to say. But there are so many people, I can just hear the gears going. Well, it works for her. I don't think it'll work for me. I'm a poor whatever that you don't
Yeah.
understand. And I am speaking to you, listeners, because when one of us or two of us have done this, there's thousands and millions that have, but it is not spoken about. And just like your title is, when the doctors say, I don't know, because that's who you're listening to. So maybe you're listening to the wrong people. And I'll tell you just my very brief. I felt like I had to go into any medical doctor knowing what I had clearly for symptoms and basically having done my own research, tell them what I needed. And it's like I had to become my own doctor, but understanding that my and MDs in the medical field are wonderful, I feel like, for certain things.
Yeah.
They are, there's miraculous things done there. But I've continually asked questions, do you get nutritional education in medical school? I said, I think most of us, well, we got about maybe 8 hours or 4 hours worth, a day's worth.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, and so they didn't get, or emotional. Did you get the understanding of these symptoms? Because, when you said that in the beginning about it's in your head, if they would at least not say that, and in a downward, oh my goodness, there's you, kind of a tone, that there's
So
something in your
condescending.
head,
Yes.
condescending, and instead say, you know what? There is counseling that's available with your insurance. And I want to encourage you. Psychotherapy can do wonderful things for your mindset that may
Yes.
be accompanying this. And
Right.
so, those are the kinds of questions I would ask our listeners to take into your doctor and ask for. You know, counsel. I want counseling. I don't want medications like we're going to go into. I do want relief. I want more than relief. I want to get to the bottom of this. Can you help me? And
Yeah.
they're going to be able to say, I can give you this medication or that medication, because that's what I do. But that's what we're talking about today. Other things that can help you besides when your doctor goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
And even if it is therapy, because that will help you understand a little bit deeper. So that's my
Yeah.
soapbox about medical professionals. And so let's
Yeah.
go back now to your understanding of what your next steps were, and I want to make sure we get back to how are you today?
Oh. Um, you know, oftentimes when you're so sick, you think that the goal, this is what my thinking, my goal was to be symptom free.
Ah,
And there's something so much better than just being symptom free. It's
mhm.
the confidence that you know your body can withstand, overcome, be there for you, allow you to have conversations like this that are, you can concentrate, you can come up with the words. I can't tell you the number of times when I was very sick, when my stress, anxiety, the feelings, the emotions, my nutritional stature, inside my body, the stress there was keeping me from being able to have conversations because my short-term memory was blocking things like simple words that I use every day. I don't know if you've ever done that. You leave one
Oh
room, you go into the
gosh,
next knowing
yes.
what you wanted. You get there and you're like, well, I don't know what I want. And you have to go back to the other room to remember. That's
And what's the excuse? We tell ourselves, oh, it's aging.
aging. And you know what? Okay, let me put it this way. I have worked with people over the years from age 5 all the way to in their 80s, and even Alzheimer's patients. And I've been able to see progress, change, strengthening of the not only physical body, the emotional body, the freeways of the mind and the emotions. They open up and allow space for processing. Things like
Mm,
grief that you couldn't process. That was my very first healing reaction, was my
mhm.
grandmother's death that had occurred 7 years prior. I was holding on to that grief for 7 years. That is a long time.
And
So,
would you take that a step further in your belief system or what you understand now, how an emotion that may be stuck, such as grief, which has many parts to it, maybe some anger, some depression or sadness. Where do you see that in your body, or what is your understanding about emotions? I would call them stuck
yeah.
emotions.
I see this a lot during the healing reaction of a physical change in the body. There's what I call a displacement. It taps into our natural human design. The body does, this is another belief, it's part of my philosophy, the body does always do whatever it needs to keep you alive. And if we don't trust that,
Exactly.
then we're not paying attention well enough. But we throw at it
Exactly.
all kinds of exhaust from cars, from munitions, from all kinds of things, not to mention what we smoke, and the foods that are over processed that we put into our bodies, not realizing. Then
Hmm.
there's the EMFs, and then there's the
Hmm.
chemical overload from over cleaning everything. That stuff is toxic to us, and it's accumulative. It goes into our body and it really does not leave until we give the body the preferred minerals it needs. We're stardust. We're made of the earth. We're from the earth, right? And if we don't give the body that the nutrients that it really, really needs, deserves, I mean, think about it. How long have we been stripping the planet, especially here in the States, of its nutrients out of the ground where we grow our food? We're just, it's over processed. It's genetically modified. I mean, there's problems. That's all of that is a huge, huge conversation. But the nutritional density value of our food is so low compared to what it was even 10 years ago. And then we were talking about how low it was. Before that, we were like, oh, it's only 50% less. It's like a tiny, tiny little,
Tiny bit.
such a small amount. So it's no longer should we fortify the body with mineral supplements. It's with what kind and how
Must.
much. Yeah. So it's no longer a question. And when you get the body what it needs, here's the human design. I'm circling back to my original statement. Think about how your car, if remember those donut tires we used to have in the back of the car
Yeah.
instead of a
Yeah.
real tire to replace. Okay.
Yeah.
So we pop a tire, we put the donut tire on. Same thing as if we don't give our body the nutrient minerals it really, really prefers, it uses toxic metals, toxic chemicals, other things. MacGyvers us together, to use an older term from the TV show. It pulls whatever it needs to from the environment, and it will just put that toxic metal, chemical, into the body to displace and replace, just like a spare tire would in a car. And
Hmm.
so we end up with lower performance, lower ability for the energy to flow through our bodies, lower ability to create hormones. And then we end up with thyroid problems. We end up with sleep problems. Both of those lead to anxiety. The ridiculous amount of overload that we place on the body, it is almost depressing just for me to talk about it, but coming from a place of overcoming it. So I know it's
Right.
actually a very easy thing if you plug in to that natural, beautiful design. All we're doing is replacing the spare
Beautiful.
tires. Yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. And I want to go back again to this emotional connection. You mentioned grief that came out in this healing
Yes.
process for you. And I think this to me and my clients, that I see in my private that people come to me for as a counselor, miss that connection almost completely and see it as very separate systems completely. We have a physical body, we have emotions that aren't even supposed to be there because we're perfect
Okay.
and we have an emotion and that makes me
Yes.
feel like this and I don't like it, so I'm just going to say no, I don't want it. So
Yeah.
if you would like to use your explanation of how you see these interact, or how maybe is a bigger picture of how we could look at this maybe a little bit more comprehensively or
Yeah.
integratively.
Yeah, absolutely. And you, that's part of it that I didn't really address, is that when we are replacing those spare tires, the spare tire holds on to some sort of traumatic event that allowed for it to be there in the first place. Usually, I
Ah,
mean, to lose not only a loved one, I got him in threes. I don't know if you've ever heard that. It's like deaths happen in
no,
three.
it
I don't
seems
know.
like that's
It
true.
does. So for me, my godfather died 2 weeks later. My
Oh,
my landlady passed away, and I had to move. And 2 weeks after that, I got a phone call at 7 o'clock in the morning telling me that my grandmother had passed. So I had bang, 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 just like all in a row. And I remember standing at my grandmother's funeral around my family and looking around everybody, and they're in their tears and they're in their grief. And I'm thinking, shouldn't I be feeling something? So at some point early, very early on, within a couple of weeks of taking minerals into my body, whatever it needed to displace and remove and pull out and allow things to move again, happened. And I can't put my finger on it and say it was this particular supplement and this mineral
right.
that, I don't know. But here's the magic of how it works. I remember sitting in bed, and I'm clairvoyant. So I saw a what looked like a picture right here in front of my mind's eye. I saw her picture of her face, and I felt the grief, and it just kind of trickled down. It's beautiful. And I went, oh. oh, this is the grief of my grandmother passing.
Yes, you
And it was
felt it.
like you mentioned, it's an allowance. And I went, okay, I'm not going to stop it here and go, oh, I shouldn't feel this.
Oh,
This is the
good.
body communicating with me, saying it's ready to heal this trauma, this event, because what came with the mineral imbalance was the trauma. They were carried on each other's backs. They're very much integrated and interwoven with each other. And oftentimes we think,
Mm.
oh, that's a bad feeling, go away, I don't want it.
Yeah, go.
But
Mm.
this really is a moment to remember that feelings are not bad, that they're meant to communicate from the body's cellular structure to tell us something is going on. So, what can we do when we're in grief? We need to feel it, we need to allow for it. And you want to know what? It only took me 5 minutes to experience that
Yes.
grief.
Yeah. And that is so beautifully put and easy to understand, I think, for everybody. And I like to associate or look at a metaphor of like the ocean waves, like an emotion that they come in, the wave comes in and the wave moves out, and that it doesn't have to stay stuck or hold on to because we let it go. And it's like if we could allow that, because it's like trying to hold back the ocean wave in our bodies. And if we could just allow and let go, it would just sweep in and we would get the message and show and get to the love and the acceptance that you miss from your grandma. You're never going to let it go and never remember her. That's what I hear people, the fear that gets stuck. Oh, if I don't feel this forever, I'll never remember her. And it's not respectful. But
No,
it's a different way of looking at this. And you had a body and a kind of an ethereal or whatever we want to call it experience that showed you the way. And I think we all have those if we allow them. Oh, that's beautifully put. Thank
good,
you. That was nice. That was beautiful to hear.
good. Yeah. It was very interesting for me to experience, and it gave me some insight. I thought I was going after my symptoms. I had no idea grief was one of them.
Interesting that
Yeah.
they're so integrated that we really are kind of a one body, mind, spirit, and that they're all interconnected. And when we deal with one, you will be dealing with another. So even if you dealt
Yeah.
with your emotions, it might tell you something about what's going on in your body. Have you
Yeah.
seen that as well?
Oh, absolutely, because it goes both ways. It's a two-way street. There are nutrient minerals that we are supposed to have in our bodies, and I think of them as bad kids in the back of the class. You know how they cause disturbances.
Yes.
So you can have the minerals. Let's talk about like iron, copper, manganese. These are nutrient minerals that are supposed to be in the body. But if they go, just like those kids in the back of the class, unsupported with the wrong curriculum, in with a group of kids, or maybe in with their family that's unsupportive, they don't have that, really, I can't say it enough, relationship support, then they're going to go into the storage areas of our bodies and they're going to be throwing
Mm.
spitballs at the teacher. Basically, that's the metaphor. So so what happens in nutritional balancing, this is my understanding of metabolisms, the body's always compensating, it's always overcoming. And kind of like when you would create, I throw a ton of metaphors here, kind of like when an oyster creates a pearl, there's layers,
Mm.
right? Okay, so each layer has its own personality of imbalances that the body's overcoming. Each one of those trapped layers has the bad kids in the back of class causing problems. And that is your inflammation. That can also be
Ah.
your anxiety. That can physically be locked in place. And so that's how, when you go through a process like this, you heal the outer layer, it passes away, it just dissolves away. Now you reveal the old layer from which you used to live. Those are now ready to be released and healed, along with any traumas, dramas, issues that are associated with those imbalances. So it's a backwards progression of the building up of our metabolism. That's the simplest way that I can put it,
That's
even for
beautiful.
myself, because I'm not a doctor. And this isn't
Right.
meant to be something grossly overspun. This is just meant to be something that we understand is our truth.
And maybe now would be a good time to hear about your process of doing this, because one of my understandings and beliefs about us as humans, and anxiety in particular, we complicate things. And I think the smarter people are, the more complicated they make simple things. And it's one of the reasons why I liked Anxiety Simplified, because I believe there are simple reasons, simple things that if we keep things simple, it just makes our life easier and better to understand things. So I would like to hear a little bit more now about your process for however you do this work that
Yeah,
you were just telling us about.
sure. It's really an invitation. It's an invitation to let go of your
Mm.
control over what you think should happen for your body next.
Woohoo.
And here's the other thing that I tap into. It's that natural divine design of the body. It has an innate in it. It's the communication between the cells and between our subconscious and between our conscious. It's something that the body keeps track of. You know, personally, at the end of every day, what you have on your desk left to do as the motorcycle drives away. Yes. And you know how much energy it takes for each one of those things to get done, how much time they're going to take, your resources, your money, whatever it is. The body, guess what? Does the same thing. It
Oh,
knows that it was exposed to some bacteria back such and such. And if we don't take care of it now, it's going to bury it in a layer of metabolism causing inflammation. So it knows, it puts it on a back burner list. I don't have energy for this today. So it's going to go back here. And I know I need to fill it in somewhere in here. I need to be able, once I have energy, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Is kind of how it goes. And here, I didn't know that grief was the thing that I needed to resolve first, but my body knew. And it goes after the most important thing that it needs to heal. Isn't that beautiful? It knows. It
yeah.
knows exactly how much energy it needs. It knows not to start the healing until it has 100% of that energy to finish the healing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can trust the body to go through the process and allow it to make all 4 stages of healing and come back to center, it does it all on its own.
So everything in its own time, I'm
Yeah.
hearing.
Very, very feminine in its approach, as opposed to the hunt and kill masculine form of medication that we all know and love. And
Cut
that's
it
fine for
out.
some things. Yes, cut it out. Take the drug for it. Cover it up. I don't want to see it. And I'm like, all right, you can use both. It's kind of a
Yeah.
two-pronged approach, right?
Yeah.
So take care of the immediate acute issue. Stop the bleeding. Stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
Give yourself that relief, and then let's look at what's causing it in the first place.
And the other thing I'm hearing is take the time to listen, or take a moment,
Yeah.
to be able to look within, because I would, just in your explanation, I'm hearing the body so intuitive
Yeah.
about when and where and how that it will choose to move forward to do these things. But if we're on constant motion, in constant worry, in constant high pressure to never stop or even slow down at all, then I can imagine we keep getting pushed in the background, pushed in the background. And the immediate things are the only thing that's get dealt with. And is that actually true? So should you believe we should need to take some time every day, every week, every month? I don't know, vacation. What do you think
Oh,
about the time?
absolutely. I mean, I quarterly, I used to travel
Quarterly.
quarterly. That I called that my healthcare. I'm going on my healthcare trip,
Ah,
That was what I did. So it depends on you as an individual how much time you need to give each what I call
mm-hmm.
turn of the pendulum swing, because we spend a lot of our time giving, promoting, doing, being,
Yeah.
over here. And as soon as we feel the sensation of criticism towards ourselves and towards others. Oh, I can't stand it when that person does this. I really don't want to go to Thanksgiving dinner. I don't like Aunt Patty and the way that she talks about my boyfriend, da da da. Like that kind of stuff.
Agitation is what I call
Agitation.
it.
Yes. When you
Yeah.
feel that. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
It's time to move into
Listen.
introspection. Yes.
Listen and move into introspection.
Yeah.
Love it.
Mhm.
All right. So, hear that, listeners. Your body is talking to you when you get grumpy.
Yeah.
And not that you're grumpy pants, it's that your body is trying to get your attention. And then it's time to go into introspection. And I just heard something I want to make sure there's 4 cycles, did you call it,
Stages.
of healing?
Yeah, 4 stages of healing. So,
Stages. Okay.
yes. Yeah, the first stage is building that battery pack, if you will. Just like
Ah.
when you plug in your cell phone and you see the battery's really low, you can't start a healing until it gets to that 100%. So, the body's going to continue to collect the minerals, the energy from
Ah.
your food, from your rest,
Mhm.
from your good sleep, from your from taking back your energy and putting up the boundaries that says this is
What
my
did you
time
call
to
it?
heal.
Build what?
The battery pack.
Build the battery. So it's like if you don't put water in your battery in your car, or they used to, I don't know if you still have to do that, but if you don't build that
Yes,
battery, you don't have anything to give.
that's
So,
right.
okay. Or I call
Yep.
fill it the well. So, okay. Beautiful.
Well,
So build
and
the battery pack.
build a battery pack, and once the battery pack is full at 100%, then the body starts the process of healing whatever is next in that priority list. And it starts that process by breaking down all of the stuff that it knows it needs to get rid of. It's just like a construction site, because that's where I came from, and they want to implode the whole building and sell it. That's that's the idea mentally. That's when it starts the process. Now you've got to clear the way. Stage. So stage 3 is clearing out all of the junk, and that could include toxic metals, toxic chemicals, old drugs, bacterias, viruses, parasites. All of these things take their turn in a cycle of healing, one at a time. And I've seen this over and over again because my process includes hair analysis. So it's very marked. You could
Okay.
see the process. Yeah, you could see
Okay.
on the test results what is coming out of the body, how it's affecting the thyroid, the adrenals, the ability to digest, create new cells, the quality of those cells, etc. You can see these beautiful comprehensive changes in the body. And when you go through that third stage, the body needs to rest more. It's clearing
Ah.
things out. Think of, again, a construction site. What happens when they're removing the old garbage? Well, they close down lanes closest to the building, it gets high traffic. You need to spend more time making sure that you can get by that area than you did yesterday. It's about allowing, again, more allowing. And then it goes into the stage 4, which is rebuilding. Rebuilding is when the body really needs your support and
Hmm.
patience and allowance, because this is where I say to people, you might need at some point 9 hours of sleep in a day. And I go, Eva, I've never slept 9 hours a day. And they laugh at me. And then some point down the line, 2 or 3 weeks or months, however long it takes for them to get into that stage 4. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I normally slept 9 hours, but I took a 2-hour nap in the middle of the day. Yes, your
Good for
body is
them.
healing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's the thing to remember, is that we don't curse. The rose bush doesn't curse being pruned.
Right. That's when it grows bigger, better, and stronger. And there's a misnomer I'd like to address here in my experience, because emotionally, a lot of times in counseling, there's a very similar process to this. And I love your clarity in this. And I guess it would be on the clearing the way step. Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's breaking down. I'm not sure. The second or third step in there. A lot of times, more emotions come out.
Oh
And it
yes,
seems like I am getting worse. This
yes,
therapy is not working. That
working right.
therapist doesn't know what they're talking about. I feel
Yeah,
worse. And I really have to prepare people up
yes.
front
Oh yeah,
for their expectations to this. And I
yes.
can usually about name the week of it, anymore. But that's what I'm hearing very similarly that
Yes.
somebody could expect. And is it the breakdown or the clearing out, would you say, of these stages that somebody may feel worse?
You
Does
can
that
you
true?
it has absolutely. There's something called die off, especially if you're killing off
Die
candida in the
off.
gut. Yeah. So there are things in the body that have been not just controlling what's going on inside your stress levels here of your body, but they're controlling your thoughts. Um, Candida, if you've ever had a bout of it in the gut, it
Yeah,
is the thing that gives you, I got to have that sweet craving you cannot pass by.
I must.
A box of cookies without grabbing the last one. You buy a box of cookies, it does not make it home. So it is something that people feel a lot of anxiety, stress. They do a lot of this shame. I can't believe I did
Shame.
that. I should know
Mm-hmm.
better. Don't I have the willpower to get through this? And I say, it's not about willpower.
No.
This is something that your body is just, it's been controlling your desires for a long
Mm-hmm.
time because you've been absent. So now when your consciousness comes onto the scene, there's going to be a bit of a battle. So be prepared for that. So here's how I explain it to my clients. Look, at some point in time, you're going to wake up with a headache and you're going to blame me.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to call me
It is.
and we're going to
Yeah.
talk about how to help you get through this, because this is your body healing. It's going through a reaction. It wants to clear something out. And it's probably just something stuck in the liver, the kidneys, and you need to drink more water or whatever it is. But we'll tune in, ask the body what it needs, and then go from there.
Hmm. Oh, that sounds so gentle.
Yeah.
And we used to call it a healing crisis. Do
Yeah.
you use that kind of terminology when your body is really going, and it's kind of going through a lot? And that's why I like the gentleness that you just used with it, because sometimes these may not feel. It is like almost like a panicky feeling I hear for some people. Oh my God, I'm having a feeling I've never felt before, and I think I'm going to die. It's
Yes.
like and so is that kind of similar what
Very.
you kind of hear from clients too?
Yeah, it's funny. When I started this work, I was very, very confined to the physical body.
Mhm.
I test the hair. We see what is imbalanced in the body. We give you the minerals. Just take your minerals, and that was pretty much where I was. And on my own healing journey, while I'm a practitioner and growing my business, I discovered this whole other side of me that was very
Yeah.
metaphysical, very soft skills, very much about the human factor, and that this whole communication. And people are not self-starters. They need someone to help them through this.
Yeah.
And so this
Oh, that's a good way to
metaphysical
say
side,
it.
yeah, it's just a guide, a shotgun. I'm writing shotgun for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I'm a good backseat driver, but better at shotgun. So the metaphysical side of me became this much larger space where I was able to tap into energies and see auric fields and understand that the traumas actually created things that are unseen to the human eye, the physical eye. But my five metaphysical sensibilities, they started to blossom and grow. And so I
Oh,
eventually
beautiful.
rolled that into the practice, and it became, now
Good.
I'm fully transparent as a practitioner. So I can help people. And they kept requesting it. I said, right now, this situation you're feeling, a battle of, you're getting stronger physically, and you've been married for a long time, and your wife maybe has been taking up the reins. She's maybe going to be afraid of giving you back power because you haven't been responsible enough to do that because of your health. Like all of this conversation, maybe you want to talk to a therapist about that. No, Eva, we want to talk to you about it. Oh, okay. All right. Well,
And talk to your wife about it, because
yes,
and I say anytime a single one of the person of the couple comes in for counseling, before we go too far, you
yes,
need to talk to your wife, because you will change.
yes,
You
you
will
will.
change attitudes, and you will change things. And it mixes up that balance that you
Yep.
talked about. I forget who that was on, PBS, about the uh what that little thing that hangs down that you'll see. What did they call those? And like one thing will go up and one thing will go down in what did they call those little thing in a
Oh gosh,
nursery?
I don't. Oh, yeah. Now I can't think of the word.
Oh, I know, but
Everybody else
everybody,
thinking it, they know.
yeah, you know what we're talking about. But it's like, it changes the balance in a relationship,
It does.
or it
Yeah.
would change. You'd see, and I know podcasters, you're not going to see my hands going up one side and going up the other, but creates an imbalance, and that has to be also looked at or balanced or
Yes.
understood. And so
Understood.
that's
Yeah.
what you need to do with the couple as well. Then
Yeah.
a
Oftentimes,
mobile, thank
a
you, there
mobile.
it
Yes,
is.
thank you. It is. Yes, yeah. I knew you think of it. It was
Yeah,
right here on the tip
yeah,
of my
mine
tongue, and it
too.
just.
But a
Okay.
mobile, it will change. And
Yes.
that's what you have to look at, each piece of that and how that shifts when one piece of it shifts.
very often I end up with a lot of couples on my program because one will start and then the other one's like, maybe I should see what's going on in my body,
Yeah,
and then the shifts
good.
become more about family as opposed to, but here's something I
Mm,
really, really want to focus on. And I've been saying
good.
it recently. It's like, to be balanced is an impossible goal. It's more about
Right.
in harmony.
Oh, I'm glad you're saying that because we have to find a work-life balance. There is not such a thing. It's
It's
always a
constantly shifting.
shift.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you said instead it is harmony.
Yeah. Yeah, working with the
Like it.
energies and allowing it rather than fighting against it, thinking that we need to do something to combat a new place
Fight,
of
fight, fight.
imbalance. Yeah, yeah, it's not about fighting.
Oh,
It's really about this allowance.
I love it because I am such a teacher of looking at what you want
Hmm.
instead of what you don't want.
Yes.
And the fighting in cancer or bodies or I'm just so sick of it. It's like, how do we find the harmony? How do we work together? How do we integrate? How do we? That's a focus. And fighting is only going to get you more fighting. And who wants that? We got enough fighting. Oh, I
Yeah.
love harmony. And so tell me, how does your practice, your method bring harmony to the body or the whole?
Yeah, I mean, the most immediate one that comes to mind is this process that I call incoherence. So oftentimes we'll think something that provides the anxiety because our heart feels the opposite way. Things that we do out of obligation. And I mentioned Thanksgiving dinner because Aunt Patty talks da 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 da. How about you just don't go? Don't go.
Make a choice, a
Make a choice.
conscious choice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know what? This kind of behavior is unacceptable for me. That doesn't work for me. It's the setting up for the boundaries without expectation. And you know what? You don't owe anybody an explanation.
Oh,
And that's going to cause that imbalance with a lot of people around you who are used to you taking care of them,
yep.
taking their requests, doing things without complaint. When you make time for yourself, those who have been, I'm going to use the word, abusing you the most are the ones who will complain the loudest.
Absolutely. And instead of saying yes when you mean no, that does set up that, I can say it, incongruence. You said incoherence
Coherence. Yeah, the
and
difference between the heart and the mind. Yeah.
heart and the head.
Yeah.
But when you start to be coherent or yeah, yours to be
Yeah,
coherent,
you got it.
you would be combining the head with the heart. And I call it a win win because then you're listening to your body, mind, spirit. And
Mhm.
that to me is what brings joy. That is what brings, if you want to call that harmony. I was going to say balance. I had to actually stop. And, it really is something that we want more of, truly, is the joys, to me, anyways, the more times of us in our lives feeling those wonderful spectrum of emotions. I feel on the higher end. So, oh, nice. I want to
Yeah,
make sure if you
yeah,
have
yeah, yeah, yeah.
anything else, but I want to ask one more question. And then I want you to tell us anything that you just are compelled right now from our conversation to make sure our listeners hear before we end. But we are in a difficult time now with virus going rampant. This will probably be out at the end of January when we're looking at our year forward from probably one of the hardest years ever in our lives or history. But why is it important now that we start to pay attention to our body's needs? Why now?
Now, it's interesting to me that the timing of this virus comes into our experience, and I see it as it's here with us.
Hmm.
We are here together, and we're meant to learn how to cohabitate. It's an unwelcome guest initially, but hasn't it shed a light on the number of things that are around us causing our immune system to deplete? Either we didn't know was depleting, or we were told they were still safe to drink, to eat, to work, a holic, like to live in a way that is incoherent with the harmony of our body's design. And I feel that the greater majority of the reason why we have so many cases here in the States is because we are so used to taking on things that look like what do you, they look like they're meant to ease our life, make us more comfortable, but in actuality, they've made our immune systems weaker. Other countries that don't have the GMOs, they don't have, they don't worry about drinking, they drink less sugary stuff. It's like they've gotten used to a more natural way of life. They're not having the issues like we are. And here in the States. And I think that that's a wake up call for all of us. When we take care of our bodies in the way that I'm talking about, I had COVID. I had it back in
You
January,
did.
February. Yeah. Lost the sense of smell. I was in bed for 3 days. And I got to say, it wasn't, everybody was saying, oh, when you get it, it comes back. No, it didn't. It goes in a wave up of symptoms, and then it goes down a little bit while the body's fighting it off, and then it goes through another wave. And it's very consistent with that until finally it's gone. And it took me, I pulled out all the stops, everything that I knew, from supplements to using near infrared sauna to the rest, of
Mm.
course, to like slowing down my pace of life and just giving my body the attention that I knew it needed. It went away. It was fine. And I don't have the post issues that a lot of people are having. A compromised immune system is not part of my story. And that can be yours too. So this is part of my mission, is to describe all of that. Look, we're not waiting for the virus, the vaccine to come out. Yeah. This is about what you do after the vaccine and through the rest of your life. Because quite frankly, do you want to be kept alive on prescription medications for the last 10 years of your life, just kind of depleting? Or would you like your life to be full of energy, wake up every morning going, yes, I want to be here, and feel the energy and the power to be able to live your life, your dream, whatever comes to your mind, until you die? It's quite seriously, I think we should be in perfect health about 2 weeks before dying. Get into our deathbed, not our death house, and fade quite nicely into the good night. That's my vision of old life. I don't believe
Beautiful.
it is being preserved. I think we have a
You know,
dignity to it.
I love that. And I want to take this out a little further because I think that was a beautiful way to look at the virus really talking to us. And are we listening? But I think we could also, my husband says this every day. What he doesn't like is that, unfortunately, we have COVID deaths from heart attacks and cancer every year
Yes.
at these are actually more than these rates. And those to me are preventable
Yeah.
in the ways that you are talking, the same exact
Same.
ways
Same.
that you are talking about here, about listening to your body. And what are you doing to build that body, or I called it fill your well in that battery, you called it, so that your body can handle these things. I've heard that we have cancer cells in our body
Yes, we do.
regularly,
Yeah.
but what does your body do with them? Why is it going to your heart or your liver or your brain? Why is these things? So I think your premise about the virus, to me, and tell me if you agree or don't, if you don't, but that this is very similar in the dis-ease that created in our bodies with any type of disease, not just with this current COVID virus.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I see it as a virus. It is a persistent and strong virus. And the CDC reports are very clear. It says 6% of the population has passed from this virus, and only from this virus. The additional 94%, they died due to complications that the virus brought on from a previous condition. So this is why now more than ever, it is so important to not just take the pill that you're prescribed and call it a day. There is always something underneath the need to take that pill that is there that needs to be resolved. And it can be, but you can't just listen to one source. If they're saying take this pill for the rest of your life, that's going to be your solution. Realize that that's just an advisory role position and that you are the one who is in charge of your healthcare. And if you wanted to take another step, you could.
And I believe once you take 100% responsibility for your life, your health, magic happens. And I think this is exactly the same concept. And I really, really, really want people to reach out to you. And will you tell us what your website is, and you have an offer for us that I think is fascinating. So you got to tell us about that as well before we end.
Yes. So I used to offer a self assessment on my website, which is theelevateinstitute.com. Don't forget the THE at the beginning. So THE, elevateinstitute.com. And on that homepage, you're going to see a button that says, yes, reveal to me illness hiding in plain sight. Well, what is that? I used to, like I said, I used to do a self assessment, and people get so used to their symptoms and how their body has changed that they actually don't recognize it as a problem. So now I offer my own eyes on your selfie. I read your face for liver, heart, kidney, circulatory systems, inflammations. I can see all of that on your face. So be brave, makeup free, send me a selfie and I'll read it. It's my own eyes on your face. And I give you, it takes about 10 minutes, type it up, and I send it off to you.
Wonderful. Oh, that's really wonderful, people, because if you're really ready to take that responsibility, that self responsibility for your health, and not blame anybody, the drug companies or the doctors or the whatever's the environment, I don't care what it is. I mean, we all need to speak up about all the things that are going on that are affecting us, certainly for toxins. But what you can do right now is take care of yourself no matter what, as we work on these other issues, for sure. Oh, I want to thank you so much, Eva. And is there any one last thing you want to make sure you tell people about, or any last words that you would like to share?
I mean, we have covered some amazing ground
Yeah, we
here today.
have. I
So, yeah, so I
appreciate
want
it.
to say thank you for letting me speak my mind and get on my own soapbox about all of this. And I invite also, you mentioned the podcast. I'm learning so much about the different invisible illnesses, things that don't show up on x rays that people are talking about on the show. When doctors say, we don't know, I invite you to come and listen. They come new episodes
It's
every
beautiful.
Sunday morning at midnight. So,
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm glad you said that, because I would have said that same thing, but I'm glad you did. And I do thank everybody for listening today. I think this is critical information so that you can take responsibility and look at anxiety in a totally different way now. So there you've got more tools. So thank you for being here, and thank you for everybody listening today.